Welcome to the virtual community of the Center for Spiritual Living, Napa Valley. I'm Reverend Jay Lang. I'm the spiritual director of this community. Our beliefs are based on ancient wisdom as well as progressive spirituality. Our mission is to show a way to live fully and wholly through the practical application of spiritual principles. Each week, we offer insights and steps on how to heal and reveal the divine truth in each of us and how to help create a world that works for all people and all life on this planet. So thank you for joining us, and we so appreciate your participation in our virtual community. I know that the Divine Feminine has had an effect on me in so many ways in imagining and thinking about God. So we're also talking this week about the Holy Reimagined. The idea that, I don't know about you, but the God I grew up with was out in the sky and either very angry or very distant. And yet it's clear in the words of Jesus and other sacred texts that God is love. And so it's also fitting that we talked about Reverend Ike today and this idea that when we are willing and open to receive Spirit within us, we experience this love and this peace that is the truth of who Spirit is, not something that is taught about God, but that revealed in us. And you find that the mystics and those of ancient times, indigenous cultures, earth-based religions, all talked about this Spirit that was within because it's natural. It's only until humans created this theology that talked about something different in that way. I heard a story of two young boys, 8 and 10 years old, and they lived in this small town, and they had this kind of rearing of teachings about God. And they were always getting in trouble in town, though it didn't seem to do any effect as much as their parents talked to them, and anything that happened in town they were always blamed for. And the parents talked to them, and finally they realized they weren't making any impact, so they talked to the local pastor, their pastor, and said, you got to talk to these kids. You got to talk some sense into them, get some fear of God in them or something, So pastor goes, oh, okay, I'll do that. So he brought in the 8-year-old first. He thought he'd start with the younger one. He sat him down in the chair, and he looked at him, and he stood up right over him, hovering over him, and said, "Where is God?" And the boy just looked really scared. I don't know. And so he said it again. "Where is God?" I don't know. "Where is God?" And the 8-year-old got so scared he just ran out of the office, ran home, went under the covers under his bed, and his brother comes in and goes, "What they say? I'm next. You got to tell me what happened." And the 8-year-old goes, I don't know, but God's missing and they're blaming us. This has more than laughter I'm after here. There's something in here because God is missing for us a lot as we grew up. The stories we were told didn't make sense. And I would suggest all of us, we heard people talking about that, about how we don't know, we're all seekers. And that's why we're here. We're still seeking. Because the God that we were taught about when we were young is missing, and we wanted to blame our parents, we wanted to blame the church, we wanted to blame somebody. And even in our lives sometimes, we go through a period where we can't quite find that connection, but we always know we can find it within. It's always right here, because that's where Spirit is. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't really have to search anywhere. Often we do it so we explore that. And for me, I had some spiritual experiences, some, if you want to call them mystical experiences when I was younger. And I didn't find that teaching in the church I went to, so I sought outside of that. And one part of that teaching I found when I was out seeking was this divine feminine idea. This idea that Spirit is formless. There's no form to Spirit. It has no gender. But aspects of it are this divine feminine and this divine masculine. As I began to explore it, I found this divine feminine because we each have, as children of God, as emanations, as spirit in form, we have this divine masculine and divine feminine in us. And as I began to explore it, I found this divine feminine in me, and actually it was already there. I didn't know it. I just found a name for it because this intuition and this softness I had within me, this willingness to explore, this reception to spirit was naturally there, but I had a name to it, and is actually awakening to the integration of the divine masculine and the divine feminine was so powerful. And that's what we seek in our lives, is the integration of those. But this month we're going to explore more on the divine feminine. So what I'm going to do, because neither talking about Black history or women's history is as my forte as a white guy. And so the divine feminine, I'm inviting Kristen up here to share with me a few things. So let's welcome Kristen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So first of all, thank you for being willing to just kind of have a dialogue about this. And so how has the divine feminine influenced your concept or your spiritual beingness?
This is a different question than he asked me.
I know.
So I also grew up with the man in the sky who was going to strike you down with lightning if you did the wrong thing. And that never really sat well with me, but it gave me faith. And so when I went out and I went to seek on my own, one of the things that I discovered that I actually talked to y'all about a couple of weeks ago was Tantra. And Tantra is all about the divine feminine and the divine masculine and the balance and harmony of those two energies within us. And one of the things that I really loved about Tantra was that they did emphasize that it doesn't matter what your physical gender is or your biological gender, your gender expression or any of that, that all of us have within us both divine masculine and divine feminine. They're both working in harmony, and that we get to work to really bring out and emphasize both of those things because they're both necessary pieces to being a whole and complete person.
Right.
So I loved that. And when I got into Tantra, I was a little worried because I'm like, this queer woman and what do I have to offer, and kind of tomboyish sometimes. And, and they were like, no, none of that matters, because it's not about how you express, and it's not about who you love. It's about that energy within. So
right.
I really appreciated that.
And as I started doing men's work in my 30s, it was very powerful work, and it gave me permission to both explore the divine masculine and the divine feminine. That was very powerful. We had a phrase in our men's work that gentle men are strong and strong men are gentle. And really, I think that applies to all of us, that there's this gentleness we can have in life, that we allow and receive spirit in this way.
Absolutely.
So what we want to do this morning is I just want to introduce this concept of divine feminine by walking through what Kristen and I think are 7 traits of the divine feminine that we wanted you to encourage you to expand in your life. So the first one would be, let me go through some of this here, is that we can create sacred space and be in tune with nature. So part of the 40 days of practice is to set up some sacred space in your home or in your office. Some of you have meditation spaces in your offices as well. But above all, it's also just walking with this sense of the sacred in your life, that all life is sacred and all people are sacred.
Yes, and I also would say that creating that sacred space is within your body temple as well, and really just opening up to what does sacred space within me look like, and how do I want to express that sacred space out. And I saw a meme about tattoos that said, if my body is a temple, then why wouldn't I decorate the walls? And take that as you will, but this body is your temple, and so how do you choose to set that sacred space for yourself, because it's what you're using to move through the world.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful. I'm not going to go out and get a tattoo, though.
That's
okay.
fine. You don't have to get a tattoo.
And the other one is to receive and express our natural healing abilities. So what's important about this is our body has a natural healing ability. When we get out of the way, when our fear gets out of the way, our mind beliefs about health and healing and vitality, we have a healing system in our body, and God in us is this natural healing ability too.
Yeah, and I really, if you've ever heard me pray a prayer around healing, what I like to think about is that divine blueprint that is your birthright, and your body is based on that blueprint. And so that healing essence and that health and wholeness is who you are at your core, and you just have to open to it. And just as Ernest says, there's nothing to be healed, only truth to be revealed.
Right,
and so
exactly.
we reveal that inner truth within us.
Right. And I know right now there's a lot of fear that's being promoted by the media, and some realistic things that we need to take care of. It's like the phrase about, trust in God, but lock up your bicycle kind of thing. So, we do wash our hands frequently, and we don't want to be in the fear around it, though, because fear creates. Worrying is a prayer, is your worst prayers answered. So we want to make sure that we remember our health and vitality that's within us, and it's a natural ability to heal ourselves and be a healer.
Absolutely.
Okay. And the third one is honoring your emotions and being in your body, being aware of your body, not living out in a cloud. We don't think spirit's out there, so why are we living out there? Let's be present and grounded and open to the divine.
Yes, and I talked a lot about this a couple weeks ago, right. Just the embodiment of allowing yourself to be fully embodied and to be okay with whatever your body's expressing, and just really working in communion with this temple and this vehicle that you're using to move through the world. And rather than trying to get away from it, just really being embodied. That was another big aspect of Tantra, and something that I had never heard. It was always this war with my body to make it into what I wanted, and instead, let's work together. We're here together for the whole time. We can't get away from each other, so let's embody and just go there together.
Yeah, and if you missed that talk by Kristen, it's on our YouTube channel, or if you want to listen to it again, The Body is Not an Apology. It's a great talk about that in more detail. The fourth one, be powerful and clear. I think this is one of the biggest myths about the divine feminine being, if you're receptive, you're powerless or passive. And that's simply not true. And that the divine feminine can be very powerful in its expression.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to think of it, the power of receptivity and of being open. You're not opening yourself to anything that comes, but you're doing the inner work within you to really be intentional in what you're open to receive. And the example that I like to give around receptivity and around the balance of the masculine and feminine is in our phrase, treat and move your feet. And the treating is really, the affirmative prayer is really that divine feminine aspect where you're going within, you're using your imagination, you're getting clear on what is yours. And it's from that place of clarity that you're not just going out and acting all over the place. You're not doing, but instead you're stepping fully into what is the divine right action that is here for me. And so it's really coming from the feminine to move into the action of the masculine, and using those two things in balance and harmony.
Right. And the clarity and this power comes from your intuitive revelation within you, not something that somebody else tells you. And Emerson talked about being self-reliant. He wasn't talking about doing something on our own, but being reliant on spirit that's revealing in us, as us in that way. Yeah. And then have gratitude for life and love, to be the joy and peace and love that you experience, just to be aware of it and grateful for it in all ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that one's self-explanatory, right?
I think so.
And this gets you had started talking about this, about using creativity and imagination, and this is creativity as an expression in traditional ways like art and music, drawing, crafts, and different things. But it's also the creativity where we're creating this life of our choosing, and it's the creative power within us and using imagination to do that. I know in the first service, Xavier talked about Reverend Ike led his communities through visualizations. And many people in the New Thought movement have also done this, that we imagine that life that we want to create it, we experience it in ourselves, and then that creates it in our lives. It's twice created, once within us and then manifested in our world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my great example of this, so for my music and ministry class this weekend, yesterday and on Friday evening, I got to spend the weekend with Karen Drucker, which I know, right? It was so awesome.
It's a rough life you live.
I posted on Facebook that I felt like it was a good way to spend my bonus day hanging out with Karen Drucker. And the way that we started yesterday morning is with what she calls morning bliss. And it was about an hour of just stepping into our creativity and our imagination and our power in this way. And it was music, and it was prayer, and we did connecting, we did some eye gazing, we went around the room, we had hand motions, just all of these beautiful spiritual practices that really supported us in stepping into our creativity and releasing any just stuff we have around our own ideas and thoughts around creativity. And by the end of the day yesterday, she actually had us writing songs, and that was really fun and creative. And I had some trepidation about it. I was a music major in college, but I didn't graduate, and therefore I have my own beliefs about what that means, about what I can do. And but she really she made it so easy. She said, write down 5 I am statements, and then she put it to music, and she's like, look, you just wrote a song. And then we went from there, and by the end we had these amazing songs people were recording on their phones and wanting to use and go out into the world. And so we all have within us this creativity and imagination, and you don't have to be perfect at it, and you don't even have to be good. You can just do it just simply from the joy of expressing the fullness of your divinity, and you have it within you. We even in our Building a Healing Consciousness class on Thursday, we did a process of drawing, and so we went into meditation, and then we just drew and expressed creatively together, and then showed our pictures to one another, and showed what that meant to each other, and just the power of that creativity, that imagination.
Yeah, and in the class on Tuesday night, it's on the creative genius. So it's the same sort of thing that we all have within us as creative genius that we can use and tap into. And it's the divine feminine that allows this to happen, because it's the receptivity of it. So it's beautiful.
Yes.
And then the final thing I want to mention today is just relational. So the divine feminine is very relational. So to develop our relationships with friends, family, and community in a deeper way, as well with spirit. I think we think of relational as with people, but it's also a divine connection that we can develop as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, do that.
Okay. Well, we'd like to complete this process for today with Kristen's going to lead us in her affirmation, and but we'll continue to talk about this the rest of the month.
Yes, so if you look on your program, about halfway down, we have our affirmation, and we're going to say it 3 times together. I am a being of love and light. Divine feminine energy flows through me, receiving and radiating love. I am a being of love and light. Divine feminine energy flows through me, receiving and radiating love. I am a being of love and light. Divine feminine energy flows through me, receiving and radiating love. And so it is.
So it is. So a brief prayer I just offer today, knowing the Spirit is within each of us, and that divine feminine and the divine masculine expresses in perfect ways. We just allow Spirit to be that truth within us that guides us, leads us, empowers us, and is us. And we're just so grateful for this. And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you for listening today. Please know that wherever you are, Spirit is also, and that good things are happening through you in every situation you experience. Feel free to check out our website for upcoming events, and if you're able, join us for one of our Sunday services at 9 a.m. or 10:30. In the meantime, know that you are led by Spirit, guided by wisdom, and protected by love. And so it is.